Joining us on The Informer is media trainer and long-time television professional Steve Carey, who joins us to talk about the current sackings this current round of sackings that Channel 10 has just announced. What have you made of this real attack on, I think must be local news?
It's a real pity that it's happened, but it's cyclic, George, and you've been in the game long enough, and so have I. I mean, I started way back in the day at Channel 9 and was headhunted across to the ABC to join the ill-fated National. And that was an attempt to converge news. When I was at 7, running the news division there, we had a thing called Elevation, where we were talking about potentially contracting all the news divisions and running it out of Sydney and Melbourne. Unfortunately, this is something that's come and come again, and it's hit 10 hard. And during these times, you don't want to see anybody out of a job, particularly professionals.
Correct.
At a time, we desperately need good, solid journalism and journalists who can tell a story and inform us.
So why would an entity like CBS and I think Viacom, one of its partners, make a decision like this? Surely they've got enough money in the bank.
It's not about money in the bank. It's about two things. It's about putting eyeballs on the set, and 10, unfortunately, through a whole variety of reasons, different owners, different time slot, they haven't rated. I mean, they rate all right for their time slot, but they're not against the juggernauts of 7 and 9, who really get a lot of people watching. And therefore, when you get people watching on commercial TV, what do you want? You want dollars, you want advertising, you want sales. Then you've been hit with COVID. So whatever you did have has also been contracted. So this has been the perfect opportunity for people in Sydney, and mate, it always comes out of Sydney, I reckon. Sydney executives decided that, hey, we can do it better, we can do it cheaper, and we can do it without the public really knowing. Now, I dispute that. I think local news has a vibrant place within the framework of local TV journalism.
It's called identity too.
Well, it's called looking after your bloody audience. Yeah. That's what it's really called. It's about giving a damn about what happens in my suburb is interesting to me. I'm not going to get that watching a bulletin out of Sydney. I'm not going to get that watching a bulletin that's produced out of Adelaide or Perth. There's a reason that local journalism is important. It's because you report on those things which touch you, and they touch you here, and they inform you, and they keep, to quote an old politician, they keep the bastards honest. And that's people not just in politics, that's people in business, that's people in sport.
What do you make of some of the new platforms that are currently standing up and making a presence? Is there room for these organisations?
Absolutely.
In this current news space?
Hey, there's never been a better time. I mean, I'm sounding self-serving. I'm on your show, The Informer. All power to you, because niche programs and niche programming are going to become more important, not less important, because as the vacuum comes from these big outfits that were well sourced and well funded, who fills the void? Well, I tell you what, I'd rather be here listening to you talk to somebody, not necessarily like me, but any of the number of people you talk to. I'd rather hear local experts talking about things that matter to me in my backyard. Yes, I still want to have an interest in interstate and international, of course I do. It's the old Marshall McLuhan thing. The world has become we're all connected, it's become a tighter, smaller place. But at the end of the day, places like The Informer, Ticker TV of Aaron Young that's come out of the blocks, these smaller places are agile, they're quick, they provide content, and they provide a counter view. They provide a different viewpoint, and I've banged on about this every time I come. Don't just get your news from one source. Get it from a different range of sources, whether it's TV, internet, print, radio, whatever. Graze on it all and form your own opinion. Then you'll not only be better informed about the debate, but you'll be better able to comment on it.
I would have thought with this captive audience that we currently have at the moment, with so many of our states going through the COVID pandemic, especially Victoria in lockdown, there would have been ample opportunity for sponsors to see the chance, seize it as well, and come and buy advertising. That's the one thing that we're seeing more and more of. They're not coming to the party. Is it because they're struggling and they can't meet the challenge to get up there and pay the rates? Or is it something else?
I think that's a loaded question in terms of we're in a very tough time where advertisers are looking across the board. Now, if there's a TV show, for example, Ninja Warrior, it's rating through the roof. Good
Should
on
we rename
it? Well, there's a case in point. Rebecca Madden, excellent journalist. I had her at Channel 7, fantastic. Went across, footy show, Nine are turning her into a real star, which is great. But Beck's basis was in journalism. So she's got substance. Those advertisers are looking for shows and people of substance. So when you fragment the audience, which is what's happening, where do you put your advertising dollars? So the big TV networks are still saying, and with a lot of justification, here's an instant hit. Here's 200,000 or 300,000 people nationally that you can grab. But advertisers are saying, well, hang on, you're not getting the same reach, you're not getting the same audience. Maybe I'll go with The Informer, or maybe I'll go with Ticker, or maybe I'll go with something else, because I'm going to look at the demographics and I want to hit Richmond.
Gotcha.
Or I want to hit Coburg or whatever. Yeah. So what happens is the challenge for advertisers is, where do you spend your money to get your biggest buck? But that's always been the way, George.
We're about to see another season of The Block. Is this going to be another opportunity to answer some of those questions, where you'll see a myriad of major sponsors come to the party, and for the season of The Block, they'll be there as they have been from day one?
I think there's no question of that. People still want big event TV. Of course they do. I mean, it'd be interesting to see the ratings for The Bachelor last night. I'm not particularly that's not my demo really, but you know, we were talking before. I mean, you look at people being home. Are ratings increasing? I've looked at the news figures. The news is building every night and has been ever since lockdown. You don't have to be Einstein to know why. It's because people are stuck at home.
Would you say that it's also a time when television has been at its weakest? This is the thing that really concerns me. I'm watching, for example, whether it's Fox or whether it's the ABC, whether it's Nine, and the little things that betray.
You mean glitches and stuff-ups on air, and
more glitches, bloops, and blunders than I've ever seen on a show called Bleeps, Bloops, and Blunders, which featured on ITV for a number of years. It made a whole lot of money.
Well, the problem is, as we all know, you need professionals to be professional. So when you don't get that amount of professionalism, therefore you get a weaker product. And that is a problem. And I've noticed that too, but that's endemic in the industry. And that's not just TV, that's not just print, that's not just radio. You could say that about across the board in a range of businesses. So the challenge is, how do you keep good people, and how do you get those people to do more? I mean, that's the thing. You can only do so much with a piece of string.
Now, you've been a successful news director. How do you pick up the 10 newsroom right now after you've just gutted some of its stars?
That is the million-dollar question, George. And I would say I would go in really hard to have really interesting state-based local people still on your books. Focus on those and make community journalism again, those big issues like bay dredging. I mean, we know we're in a lockdown, COVID, but find those things that are interesting in a national sense. That's always been the challenge for news.
Steve, as always, given us plenty to think about. I look forward to your next birthday, because I've made a promise and I've got to deliver. Mate, all the very, very best.
Good on you, George. Thanks.